Now, apart from the plot, there are only two other things I enjoy the most in Re:Zero. The first one is seeing Subaru die in the most brutal ways possible. Yeah, I'm a bit of a psychopath, I admit. And the second one is obviously Priscilla's Alright, so today we're gonna discuss the most brutal deaths of Natsuki Subaru from Re:Zero. We'll discuss the second one, some other day. So without further nonsense, let's get going. So at the first spot of today's list, we have the moment where he decides that this timeline was meaningless and decides to loop back. Now this might as well be the quickest or even the simplest death Subaru gets in the series, but that doesn't mean it was easy. This death didn't come from enemies, it came from despair. After finally defeating Betelgeuse and saving Amelia, Subaru returns to the capital, only to find out that Rem and her whole group were basically soloed by the witch cult. So most of them were dead and somehow Rem was in a coma, with her whole existence forgotten by everyone except Subaru. So Subaru, without thinking much, decides that he can stop this by using Return by Death. So he immediately unalives himself, and then he finds out that the next checkpoint has been changed to a time when Rem's encounter with the witch cult can't be prevented. So basically this idiot just died and created a different weird line for literally nothing. Then we have the moment where Subaru finds himself as Elsa's victim for the second time. Now, when you recall Season 1 of Re:Zero, this death might not seem that brutal, cause let's be honest, none of us were that emotionally invested in the show at this point. But when I rewatched it, I was generally surprised at how brutal this was. Subaru, the stubborn negotiator, tries to buy Amelia's batch back and talk his way out of a gruesome fate, only to be met with Elsa's signature love for bloodshed. The air is thick with tension before the inevitable happens. Elsa first kills Old Man Ra, then Felix, and then takes her sweet time to play with Subaru. Her blade moves like a whisper, and in moments Subaru finds his food storage spilling onto the floor. The searing pain is immediate, but the real agony comes from the slow, agonizing crawl towards death. His body trembles, his vision darkens, and in his final moments, all he can do is curse his own helplessness. A truly chilling demise that cements just how outmatched he is. And next up is being tortured and killed by Rem. The one thing this show throws at us right from the word go is the fact that no one can be trusted, even in a character that was most favorable towards our main character during the previous loop. That definitely won't be the same this time, however. This specific loop is the perfect example of that. Now, trust is a dangerous thing in the world of Re:Zero, and Subaru learns this the hard way. There's no quick death here. Only the drawn-out suffering and blood-curdling screams. Rem ensures that every nerve is set alight with agony. And at one point I was like, what is the point of this dude running? Just die and start over. The worst part isn't even the unbearable pain, it's the despair. The realization that he will die without ever convincing her of his innocence. His mind fractures long before his body gives out, and in that moment, death becomes the only mercy. The last thing he sees is Rem's cold gaze, unfazed by his suffering before the darkness swallows him whole. Then we have the moment where Subaru receives the short end of the stick from a not-so-fluffy Puck. Now this one was a very chilling end. Alright, I'll stop with the bad jokes, but this death was quite possibly the best death of the whole show. I'm not talking about brutality, but the pure epicness of the scene. So in this loop, Subaru is already mentally broken due to the sheer amount of shock he received in the previous loop. But forget about the rest, the dude goes through the same trauma just 10 times worse. First he is jumped by the witch cult and Betelgeuse, and then he watches Rem die in the most brutal way possible. And then when he finally gets back at the mansion, guess who's waiting for him? Puck, who is a freaking kaiju. Oh, and Ram's dead. So Puck first freezes him and then decapitates him. What's next? She's gonna make a deep-fried omelet out of him? Oh, that sounds pretty good right now, actually. Worst of all, he also knows that Puck wasn't acting out of malice, it was just cold, inescapable justice for his failure to protect Amelia. Then we get the moment where Subaru finally meets Sataya face to face. And let's say it doesn't go too terribly well. So the dude had to unalive himself again, but this time it wasn't that easy. Now, physical pain is one thing, but having a complete mental breakdown is another beast entirely. So after the dude was absolutely ravaged by the rabbits, which we will discuss further in the video, Subaru meets up with Echidna and then returns back to the real world. But let's say he wasn't in the best place. Completely surrounded by shadows, he knew something was wrong. Garfield comes and saves him, but that doesn't do much help, because the Witch of Envy, Sataya, was already there. She catches up to them and eliminates Garfield easily, and then eats up Subaru. Wait, that sounded wrong. She consumes Subaru completely. Well, that's just worse. So anyways, he gets nommed. And in order to get out of Sataya and stop himself from going insane, bro had no other choice than to self-eliminate once more. So yeah, on paper it doesn't sound too bad, but the sheer amount of fear and madness Subaru feels in this scenario is definitely one of the worst. Then after that is the moment where Subaru again witnesses Elsa's craftsmanship, but this time it's in Betty's library. So Elsa is back on the list. So after Elsa makes her comeback to the story in Season 2 and kills Subaru for the first time, Subaru tries to rush back to Betty's library and stop Elsa from killing everyone, but the dude ends up meeting Mommy in the library anyways. So she does her signature move and slices up Subaru's stomach. Her blade is an extension of herself, cutting deep, twisting and prolonging his suffering, and the pain is just unbearable. But the look in Beatrice's eyes, one of sorrow yet detachment, hurts even more. And the last thing he hears is Elsa's delighted sigh, savoring the moment before his suffering ends. And I've gotta admit, this probably has to be one of the better ways to die, as dark as it is. Because I mean, who wouldn't like to die at the hands of this? Goddamn! Alright, I'll stop thirsting. In any case, let's move on. Next up, we have the death everybody loved, which is Subaru becoming a fine snack for some cute little rabbits. Everybody loves rabbits, right? Well, you won't after watching this. So there are fates worse than death, and this is definitely one of them. So Subaru finds himself encountering a cute little bunny, and when you see this guy, you'll be like, this guy probably can't bite a carrot properly. But forget about carrots, the first thing he bites right on off is Subaru's hand. Entirely. So Subaru understandably starts screaming, and the rabbit decides to invite his whole pack for a picnic. So the misery starts. And at first it's just a sharp pain, a bite, a rip, then another, and the swarm descends upon him. Each tiny mouth tearing through skin and muscle, and the pain is just indescribable. A symphony of pain as his body is consumed piece by piece. He screams, but there's no one to help him. And this is basically generational trauma, cause forget about me owning a rabbit, I'm not even letting my kids have one. Do you still love them? Let me know in the comments down below, because if you do, there is something fundamentally wrong with you. And at last, but certainly not least, we have basically a tragedy of a timeline which ends as Subaru experiences his last moments at the hands of an Amelia who is definitely not the Amelia we came to know.
Subaru, 私の膝枕好きでしょ?
A death tinged with tragedy rather than brutality, yet no less agonizing. After Beatrice sent him back to the sanctuary in order to save him from again being sliced down by Elsa. But Roswell, that piece of crap, I always had my doubts about him. There was just no freaking way that this face was innocent. No wonder this guy was voiced by the same voice actor as Dio and Zeke. So this guy had other plans, and he kills Ram and Garfield, then allows himself to get eaten by the rabbits. But Subaru still manages to somehow survive and escape. But despite escaping, he had already gotten lethal wounds, and when he finds Amelia at the trial, she has already gone insane. Blood pools beneath them, warm yet cold, his body grows weak, and the only thing he sees before passing on is the menacing look of Amelia, who had nothing but pure insanity in her eyes. This was basically the most cruel farewell that would haunt him beyond death. And that was the list for today, guys. If you're an anime-only fan, then let me tell you that this is just the tip of the iceberg, because all the hardships Subaru faced, all the enemies he's encountered up until now, is literally nothing compared to what's to come. If you thought the tragedies he encountered this far were bad, just wait for Arc 6. The sheer amount of shock and insanity the upcoming stories will provide will definitely melt your brain. And if you don't want to wait years for them to adapt the upcoming arcs, because Arc 5 is rumored to be delayed until next year, you can go ahead and read the novel, because that crap is just as awesome as the anime. If by any chance you are one of those unfortunate souls who haven't watched Re:Zero or have dropped it just after watching the first couple of episodes, I have two things to say to you. First, why the hell are you here? And second, stop watching all those vanilla slice of life crap and watch this. The amount of people who intend to sleep on this anime is actually insane. These people sleep on an actual greatness and then end up watching the latest season of Rent-A-Girlfriend. What is wrong with you? Respectfully, don't worry, I invest in change. But at this point, you guys are basically aliens. So if you don't want to become an alien, well, stop watching Rent-A-Ho and watch this show right now, because this is peak cinema. Well, that's the video for today, guys. If you were able to make it this far, please be sure to comment down below which death you think is the most brutal or messed up death in Re:Zero. And also, who's your favorite waifu from here? The Yapper Amelia or Mommy Priscilla? Oh, baby! Also, press on that bell icon and set us all to be notified about all our latest new videos, and of course, don't forget to subscribe. And as for now, I'll catch you later. See you in the next one.